Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
This year I got to go through with a hose and actually sprinkle off the dust that's on the pumpkins.
Hot, dry temperatures and lingering drought conditions across BC with little to no rain in sight. Also,
we have to see this as a result of the city's own actions of not housing people.
Vancouver police investigate multiple attacks after what they call a violent weekend in the downtown east side. But advocates say things won't get better without government support. And
we are expecting to see actually a lot of new folks coming in for their meal today.
Feeling the squeeze from inflation, nonprofits see demand and costs increase this Thanksgiving.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Anita is away tonight. I'm Isabelle Raghem. Some have taken to calling it Ogtober as BC's drought conditions continue. As Susanna De Silva reports, some regular holiday weekend activities are taking a far dustier note this long weekend.
Boots are pretty standard for pumpkin picking. Shorts and a t-shirt, not so much.
I like it. I like that it's warm and it's not muddy.
This has been the greatest fall of all time.
It was cold first, and then it got warmer.
6-year-old Aiden is looking past the dust to find the perfect would-be jack-o'-lantern.
I'm just looking for a good pumpkin, and I want it big, but I'm finding a big pumpkin that I can lift.
This year I got to go through with a hose and actually sprinkle off the dust that's on the pumpkins.
Farm owner Lauren Taves says a drip irrigation system has kept the pumpkins hydrated, and late sun has been good for the apples for his cidery.
Because that rain never stopped.
Welcome weather after cold temperatures delayed the growing season.
That rain and the coldness we had cost about a third of our crop didn't actually pollinate because of the cold temperatures.
3 months later, and it was the warmest September on record in Abbotsford, and dozens of temperature records have already been broken all over BC in October. Little to no rain means the entire province is under drought conditions. The darker red, the more extreme.
The underlying reason is a marine heat wave that is taking place in the northern Pacific. So there's higher than normal ocean temperatures, and that is what's driving these unusual weather patterns.
Unusual patterns, experts say, driven by climate change. A new UN report warning of the deadly consequences of heat waves like the one that wiped out Taves' berry crop last year.
This is a bit of a highlight amongst many negative things, like that crop that I lost. I mean, we're looking at misting systems and fogging on the berries to keep them cool. There's a lot of investment has to be put into that.
What do you think of that pumpkin?
Heavy.
Investments needed to keep growing the perfect pumpkins. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Abbotsford.
On southern Vancouver Island, the prolonged hot and dry conditions aren't helping fire crews as they battle a growing wildfire in the Cowichan Valley. The Cowichan River wildfire, 10 kilometers west of Duncan, was first spotted Saturday morning. It's still classified as out of control and now estimated at 4.1 hectares in size. The fire is suspected to be human-caused, but officials say at this point no infrastructure is at risk. Meanwhile, in the interior, a growing wildfire near Grand Forks has residents there keeping a close eye on conditions.
There's a lot of smoke in the sky, and we can still see the fire from town. So it's concerning.
Johanna Wagstaff is off tonight, and Kuljeet Kaila joins us now. Kuljeet, the lack of rain isn't helping with wildfires, but those strong winds today won't help either.
Yeah, they're just adding to the fears of weakened tree branches falling, for example, hydropower outages, and no rain in the forecast. This wind warning, a special statement came in earlier today, up to 70 kilometers an hour by the water will be the wind, and it's going to cover most of the south coast as well as the Okanagan. As you can see, a lot of BC is going to be seeing a lot of wind today, and this means a drastic temperature drop. Just to give you an example, Prince George is going to be at 0 degrees overnight from 15 degrees as their high today. And so temperatures are going to drop dramatically for about 24 hours. And then we're right back to good above seasonal weather, which is causing, extreme conditions for our fire danger, especially in the Peace region, parts of the Cariboo down into the south coast. That continues. The north coast is the only one getting rain. The rest of Vancouver, pretty dry. Tomorrow's highs, we're going to see up to 15 degrees for Williams Lake, and it's going to continue to be sunny, mostly for the south coast, and sunshine overnight and into tomorrow. Things are going to clear up quite nicely, a little bit of fog, and then right back to the sunshine. And that sunshine will continue for the rest of the week into the weekend. Our only hope of seeing any rain is next Monday, and that's about a 60% chance. Isabelle?
Yet another sunny streak. I can't believe it in October. Thanks,
I know.
Kuljeet.
You're welcome.
A British man has been sentenced to life in prison for the murder of an Okanagan teen. 23-year-old Jack Seppel will spend a minimum of 23 and a half years in prison for the death of Ashley Wadsworth. The 19-year-old from Vernon had met Seppel online and moved to the UK to meet him. She was stabbed and strangled during an attack in his home in February of last year. And a somber anniversary today, 10 years since Amanda Todd died by suicide. Sentencing for the man found guilty of harassing and sexually extorting Todd continues this week. Todd's mother, Carol Todd, says she's expecting to give her victim impact statement either tomorrow or on Wednesday. Before being extradited to Canada, Aidan Coban was sentenced to 11 years in a Dutch prison for similar online abuse of 34 girls and 5 men. Before she died, Amanda Todd recounted her ordeal in a video using flashcards to outline the abuse she faced. It's been viewed by millions and has helped raise awareness about cyberbullying. There have been multiple violent attacks this Thanksgiving weekend in Vancouver. 5 stabbings and an attack on a man with a crossbow arrow took place in the downtown east side. As Benit Brach reports, advocates say decampment orders in the area are causing more stress among downtown east side residents.
This weekend, a string of violent attacks. On Friday, 2 stabbings. One happened near East Hastings Street and left an 18-year-old man with serious injuries. The other happened near West Hastings Street and left a man with life-threatening injuries. Then on Saturday morning around 3 a.m., more stabbings happened at Crab Park, which has a tent encampment. Police say witnesses described it as a stabbing spree. 3 people were seriously injured, and the suspect, a resident at the park, was also arrested. Later that night, another incident. This time, a man got struck in the chest by an arrow from a crossbow, and he has survived the attack. Police believe the victim was targeted, but have not identified the suspect yet.
This weekend has been particularly violent.
Police say more weapons and violence in the downtown east side continue to happen around a tent encampment on Hastings Street that started early July.
But to have this level of violence in such a short period of time in a neighborhood that's already faces a significant amount of violence and disorder is very concerning.
Advocates say there is increased tension, partly because of the city's order to clear the tent encampment in the downtown east side. In August, fire officials called the tents an extreme safety hazard.
There's no shelter space. The condition of the SROs are abominable. People have nowhere to go.
Advocates say residents have been left in the dark.
And of course, that kind of frustration and daily, grind of being out there living on a sidewalk creates frustration, creates tension, and creates, unfortunately, this kind of lateral violence.
Tao says more housing support is critical in the downtown east side to prevent more people from taking their frustrations out on others. Benit Brach, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Union Gospel Mission is serving up thousands of Thanksgiving meals today.
Over the last 3 years, we have served almost all of our meals out the door to go style. And while that has been really meaningful for our community members to be able to get hot, nutritious meals, it hasn't had the same sense of community, vibrancy, and hope that our indoor holiday meals have.
More than 100 volunteers and staff are serving up to 3,000 meals to residents of Vancouver's downtown east side. The group says that since it's the first meal in person since 2020, they are seeing a lot of new faces.
It means a lot to me because it's such a good feeling and I really enjoy it. And the food is excellent, I have to say. It's really awesome.
With the rising costs of food, many people have been turning to charities like UGM for help. But the group is feeling the effects of inflation itself and is struggling to keep up with demand. Leanne Young has more on what it takes for an organization to feed everyone.
In Randy Sparks' kitchen, every morsel counts. It's how the chef of 2 decades at Union Gospel Mission has squeezed out 250,000 free meals a year on a modest budget. But lately, rising food prices means he's had to trim back even further.
That's a lot more.
It's a huge amount.
The charity's annual Thanksgiving meal will cost at least $4,000 more for turkey alone compared to 2 years ago.
You can see in 2020, it was $5.69 for the turkey breasts or whatever. And 2021, you can see it jumped up to $6.81.
And this year, it spiked again to $7.99 per pound, 40% more in 2 years. The price of nearly everything on the plate has gone up, he says, forcing everyone to get creative to cut costs.
Making sure that we show our volunteers when they come in to cut closer to the celery stalk and don't take off too much. And, you know, little cost-cutting things like that, they really add up when you talk about the numbers and the bulk that we do here.
Okay,
At this Pay What You Can market in East Vancouver, as inflation has risen, donations have declined. Shoppers were giving an average of $2 a visit at the start of the year. Now it's dropped to 40 cents.
It's hard right now. Everything's so expensive, gas, food. Housing has always been crazy expensive in this city. And I think it's just piling on and people are really struggling to make ends meet.
Pellegrini says more people than ever are turning to them for help.
Lots of seniors on fixed income, lots of single parents, students, just your everyday person trying to get by.
Back in Sparks' kitchen, he's preparing for what's ahead.
I enjoy a good challenge, so this has certainly been one. So we'll see moving forward. I believe it's only going to get a little more interesting, a little tighter. I don't believe the cost of things are going to stop going up at this point.
Despite the pinch, he and others are still hoping donors will step up to give what they can this Thanksgiving and beyond. Leanne Young, CBC News, Vancouver.
It's considered a first for this province. A BC company is ready to release a new Class 3 electric truck produced in Aldergrove. CBC's Saurabh Sandhu hears from industry experts who say the local production is a game changer.
This is the new VMC 1200, a fully electric Class 3 truck, and it's produced in Aldergrove. Vicinity Motors Corp says it's a first in this province.
From a full charge, you can expect 241 kilometers under load.
The company says the truck's quiet performance makes it ideal for urban operations. The truck has a payload capacity of 5,500 pounds, which the company hopes would make it viable for package deliveries, yard work, and even municipal operations.
This vehicle competes in a marketplace in your Class 3 to Class 5 range, and there's over 400,000 vehicles sold annually in that market range.
EV experts believe this is a huge deal for BC, considering not much incentive is available for commercial EV production locally.
We have a lot of funding that's available for medium-duty electric vehicles, but there's not that much supply, and Canada not having mandates that extend to medium-duty vehicles.
Some experts from trucking industry, however, feel that infrastructure and technology in BC is not adequate for industry to adopt EV trucks at this time.
For the trucks, you don't know where you are stuck in the traffic. If we see the traffic in the Lower Mainland, you never know that how long will it take for you to reach at the destination.
This type of vehicle is really one that's going to go from a home base out for the day and then come back.
And for those prospective buyers who are hoping for some sort of incentive from government, there is good news.
The BC government has really helped, as the federal government has helped, and there's a total of almost $40,000 in rebates that are presently available for these units.
The company claims the truck will cost less than $100,000 after all the provincial and federal rebates are applied. The first truck is expected to be on the road by end of October. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Elder Grove.
A terrifying day for the residents of Ukraine. No corner of the country untouched as Russia lashes out. The latest from inside the country coming up next. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream. In Nova Scotia, Hurricane Fiona left many international students in Cape Breton without power and a place to live. A nonprofit decided to help out by cooking a comforting dish from their home province of southern India.
The news is spreading more, so now it's almost good for 150 guys. If more order will come, we will cook for them, definitely. Because of the Hurricane Fiona, everybody is starving for a shelter and food. So what we just get an idea like how we can help the community, at least like from the basic level.
We are so happy to do this, and we will be continuing this until we make sure that each and every one are okay with at least with food.
So this is the traditional food in our province, in India, back to India, yeah.
And it's the simplest and easiest recipe to make, and it's healthy too.
What's the recipe called? It's green gram curry.
We were in a situation, problem where we didn't get much enough facilities and utensils to cook the food, and all of a sudden when we informed Mr. Ashwell, he discussed with the management of the Governor's Pub, and they were very happy to offer us their facilities, and we have to thank them also on this moment.
It's always important to help your community, especially when we're in a situation where we can help. So it only makes sense for us to help, and any situation like this, it's just good, feels good.
So we have been consuming all this bread, jam and everything for the past for 5 days. So all these people, what they're doing is great service. So we are really thankful for whatever they're providing us with. Yes.
Russia unleashed a barrage of missile attacks across Ukraine today, the biggest and most widespread since the early days of the war. At least 11 people have been killed and more than 60 others wounded. CBC's Briar Stewart has more and has this report from Dnipro in the central part of Ukraine. But first, a warning to viewers, some of the images in this story are disturbing.
The horrors of war right in Ukraine's capital. A barrage so intense that even in the early days of the invasion, Kyiv wasn't attacked like this. For hours, the missiles just kept coming. As rescuers rushed to treat the wounded, residents headed underground.
Really, I think because they are bastards. That's it. They want to destroy our people, our infrastructure, everything. I really don't know, and I'm extremely angry, you know.
Russia called this an attack against critical infrastructure. But why then a blast near a playground?
the war against civilians. Putin needs Ukraine without Ukrainians.
Ukraine says the strikes were designed to maximize loss of life, taking place as people were on their way to work and school. This young woman was near a university filming a message after one explosion when there was another strike. Other cities across the country were also hit, including Lviv in the far west and Dnipro in the south. These two explosions killed at least 4 people who were on a bus nearby at the time.
One of the missiles struck this street in Dnipro, and you can see at this giant crater just where it landed. Now, it's starting to be filled in now, but it's believed that the intended target was actually this building, which at one time was a telecommunications hub.
This afternoon, crews quickly got to work cleaning up the debris and filling the hole, but it's much harder to sweep away the trauma. It's a good thing my child was sleeping and didn't hear any of this, says this woman, because the first time this happened and they were bombing for 2 days, she was really scared. This man's bar was destroyed in the blast, but not his resolve. We had fear on the 24th of February. Back then, everyone was afraid and worried. Now there's no fear, just hatred for these people, nothing more. Because the attacks damaged the power grid, officials are asking people to conserve electricity. But otherwise, daily life has resumed, even if many might feel more uneasy the next time a siren sounds. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Dnipro.
While Vladimir Putin says this shows the resolve of Russia, others are saying this is an act of desperation from the Russian leader. As Chris Brown reports, Vladimir Putin appears to be running out of military options.
On the ground, Russia's military campaign is stalled. Ukraine is reclaiming territory, and thousands of new call-ups, such as these reservists, may not be enough to save Vladimir Putin's army from humiliation. So instead, and as he's done repeatedly, Putin ordered his military to kill Ukrainian civilians by firing salvos of cruise missiles and raining down death from the skies. Putin explained the escalation in a taped video address to his Security Council. If Ukraine's attempts to carry out acts of terrorism on our territory continue, Russia's response will be harsh, he said. Putin is referring to this presumed Ukrainian attack over the weekend on his pet project, the bridge to Crimea. Vehicles are moving across it again, but the damage has underscored the vulnerability of an essential Russian supply route. Putin is also under pressure from within to do something to turn the war around. He's cut a deal with one of his only allies, Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus. They're going to form new combat units, although it's not clear how they'll be deployed. And he's appointed a new commander for the Ukraine war, Sergei Surovikin, who was notorious for killing civilians in Syria.
If anything, it'll harden Ukrainian resolve. It'll harden the support that Ukraine is getting.
This war studies expert says Putin attacking civilians is a sign of desperation.
The hardliners now claim to be satisfied. Their problem, of course, is that none of this wins the war.
With all the strikes against civilian targets, Putin is signaling he's prepared to keep escalating to win. But the next move may come from the West, and whether countries will increase their supplies of weapons to Ukraine in response. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly continued her visit to South Korea today amid mounting tension on the Korean peninsula. She visited the United Nations Memorial Cemetery, where she paid tribute to Canadians who died in the Korean War 70 years ago.
Their hope of a peaceful and stable Korean peninsula continues and lives on.
Joly also met Canadian military personnel stationed in the area and helped serve a Thanksgiving dinner. In recent weeks, North Korea has launched 7 sets of missiles. The country's government says the launches were a simulation of a nuclear attack on South Korea.
Can we build without instructions? No.
2 Lower Mainland Lego enthusiasts are trying to take the brick world by storm. We meet these 2 would-be Lego masters coming up next.
I went to visit a turkey farm in Richmond. This group must have thought I was a buyer because they were not too happy to make my acquaintance. These are male or tom turkeys. The big ungainly birds with the red and blue complexions are only 12 weeks old and not quite ready for the roaster. Turkey farmer Evelyn Edwards says their time will come.
Actually, what we're looking at here is we're looking at a lot of Christmas dinners.
Oh, that's true. The bigger turkeys, they more or less go to institutions and they get cut up because it's far easier to cut up a big turkey, or you get a better yield when you cut up a big turkey as opposed to a small turkey. So the toms, they more or less go for institutions and further processed meat.
It used to be that turkeys were only consumed on Thanksgiving or Christmas, but now they're year-round fare. Farmer Brian Edwards ships them to market continuously.
Quite a while. Usually I market mine at 17 weeks. Some of the guys are marketing them at 16 weeks. And the hens, you'll market at 15 weeks. And the hens will be live weight, they'll be about 17 pounds at 15 weeks, and the toms will be at 17 weeks, they'll be 30 pounds.
Tom turkeys like to strut and preen. They think it impresses the hens. Sound familiar? They like to nest, and they stick together. This group seemed intent on eating our tripod. But they wouldn't go near the camera, even with the urging of cameraman Doug Kerr, doing his herder routine. Turkeys don't have much personality, but there are exceptions.
We could pet this turkey, so I said to my dad, I said, can we let him run around the yard instead of putting him in the pen with the rest of the turkeys? And he said, sure. So anyways, like I said, it was 1957, so we called him Elvis. And he really was just as tame as a dog. He was, You could walk up to him and pet him, and he really was nice. You know, he had a personality.
These fellas don't have to worry about Thanksgiving now. I mean, the day is almost over. But Christmas is coming. And if I was a turkey in this group, I'd make myself scarce. Bob Gillingham, CBC News, Richmond.
BC Votes 2022. Housing, safety, transportation, and climate change. What do the next 4 years look like? Watch CBC News and stay informed at cbc.ca/BCVotes.
It's one of the hottest shows on TV right now. Lego Masters is a show where Lego builders compete for a cash prize of $100,000, as well as, of course, the Lego Masters trophy. For season 3, 2 of the competitors are from the Lower Mainland, and they are confident they can win the top prize.
You don't like the tabs? I love the tabs. Like, they remind me of like old school.
Can we build it without the instructions?
No. What is Lego Masters, Emily?
Lego Masters is a show where the best in the country, and in this case North America, of Lego builders come on the show and try to compete for a chance to win $100,000 and a Lego Master trophy.
Like, there's the easy things like bricks and plates and round bricks and Technic bricks, and tiles,
Technic pins.
Then you get other things like AFOL, it's an adult fan of Lego. In season 3, they reached out to me and said, hey, we want you for season 3. We can definitely do Canadians this time, because I asked that twice. Then I just had to find a partner. And I got stuck with her. Where are we?
I'm gonna do this, you do that.
Okay, well, I can't do the...
I think you can.
If it continues like this, I don't think we got much of a chance, but if we can pull it together the next couple of weeks, then I think we got a good chance of winning this thing.
Did you do that part?
No, not yet.
I'm 2 years younger than David.
That's right.
So...
Despite we look like twins, but we're not. Yeah, she's younger than me, but when she was born, my parents stuck a bucket of Lego in front of me and said, go play in the corner. And I never stopped. This structural stage of this spaceship, I think it's important to not have missing pieces. Yeah, so when I was looking for a partner for the show, it's like, I need someone who builds fast. And who built all my Lego nerd friends? This guy.
And I'm also a really fast builder. I have small hands, and I don't have a hard time picking up the really tiny pieces and getting them into place.
Okay, so something that I want to make sure before we move forward on this one. Now I've got two almost 2.5-year-olds, and they love Lego. They play with Duplo. We got a big bucket down here. We got a Duplo up in their cribs upstairs, and it's their favorite thing.
For me, the most interesting part about the show was the bonds that we made with the people there.
Yeah.
That's all for us this evening. You can always find our news program online at cbc.ca/BC. Happy Thanksgiving and good night.